Awesome. As always, I want to thank everybody for coming. We have not had a performance school since earlier in the spring semester. One thing or another led to just us postponing some different things, but do think that this will expand off of our last one. The last performance school we had, we did introduce the idea of teams. I think we've learned a lot more since then, and just want to spend today discussing what we have set up, maybe what we could potentially do, and then just kind of challenge everybody to come up with some questions to see if we can figure out other solutions based on need. Would always remind guys too that like the biggest part about learning is creating some educational research is called a community of practice, community of learners, a network of learning, if you will. So the biggest thing across all of our areas, Pat Kraft yesterday talked about there's different neighborhoods of facilities and sports around our campus, and we're very spread out. But the more that we create a shared knowledge, a shared language, and a lot of different things around one, if you will, we're all doing the same thing, will be even more powerful. So this is a learning network, and we'll record everything. But the biggest thing that I just asked everybody to do is to just simply watch your language and anything that we say, because it's recorded, and we want to be able to scale it out to a lot of different people. So let's get started. So when we think about Microsoft Teams, we chose Microsoft Teams as a method to get everybody together. Firstly, because it was absolutely free. Part of the Microsoft 365 package that we as staff members have at Penn State, it's a free service. The second thing that we continually find out is that it is very moldable and expandable over time. So not only can we set things up across all of our units to be the same, that's what we have, we're calling those the shell that you'll hear me refer to in a second, but based upon need of sport, we can customize it with add-ons. We can drop in Excel, Microsoft Forms, which could be done with collection of data, or if in the operations side of a sport, you can collect information about customizable. And then the next area that was super attractive for us is a lot of our performance data that we're collecting, whether it be performance data from like a force plate or simple wellness metrics or Catapult GPS units. We can, through other Microsoft products like Power BI, and then quickly display the information for coaches. So they're not just inundated with a lot of papers or PDF copies lost in email. Everything is centralized. So it continually shows power. So in the performance world, this is known as an athlete management system. So you have things like Kitman Labs, you have CoachMe Plus, you have all these different athlete management systems that come with cost. And they have really, really advanced capabilities, messaging, communication, advanced analytics. It's essentially a hub for a staff. This is essentially doing that for us. And I'll keep coming back to the idea of it is completely free. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and this is just like you guys have been some of these in the past, please jump in at any time. But what I want to do is to just kind of go through Teams a little bit, give a brief overview of what we have set up, and then go through our big project that we're working through this summer. Then at the end, probably 15 minutes in, 20 minutes in max, open it up for questions. And then if anybody has interest in setting your area up even further, we can spend time with that, but no more than 30 minutes today, as this part one will be just an intro. All right, so when we have Teams, it's essentially a desktop application, an app that we download just straight from the Microsoft Store. It also has an iPhone app, an iPad, and is fully capable to work with Apple products as well, both computers and like the phones and the mobile devices. So you're going to see my screen here, and it may look cluttered. I don't want this to be overwhelming. This is just because I have all the teams that we created active. Okay, so within a single team, or if you're a performance staff member and say you work with 2 or 3 different programs, you would only have the individual team that you work with appear on your Microsoft team. But the basic structure, and I'm going to use this fictitious team here as our example, the basic structure is our teams, any team that we be associated with would be on this home screen. So if I work with the ski team here, it on my dash here. If I worked with women's basketball, it would be on my dash. Baseball, same thing. Everything is already here. Now, at the moment, and I'll talk about it in our long-term project, we have created a shell or a Microsoft team for every single one of our sports here at Penn State. So it's already active, it's ready. If you have interest, all we have to do is activate your name if we haven't already. So let's look at this ski team. Again, we'll call this just the big dashboard where we manage all of our interfaces with different programs. By clicking on this, it enters into this individual sport or team's portal or their Microsoft team. Once we get to this level, there's a couple different things that we can do. On the left, these are called channels. Okay, so I want you to think about these as just simply focus areas. Okay, so we have intentionally made focus areas for all the subdisciplinary groups that we sponsor here at Penn State. So you have counseling and psychological services with CAT, performance enhancement, strength conditioning, nutrition, performance psychology. You'll notice sports medicine has a lock so we can control access within this. Okay, and this is just an example, but anything can be locked here. Okay, so we basically have all of our sports performance teams with their individual channel, so you can communicate with team members in this internal channel by itself, or you'll see automatically there's a channel created called general. This would tag everybody that is involved in this team. So all coaches, all staff, all really anybody that interfaces with the team. Now, one of the things, this is just from a development standpoint, every single one of our teams, we have a channel, and most of the time they're hidden, but you may see something that says ZZZ development. It's just alphabetized, so we call it that. It pushes it to the bottom. And this is where we're just keeping track of every single thing that we do so that we can come back and recreate it later on. The biggest thing about this is just reproducibility. How do we make things over time reproducible amongst teams? Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, so we've gone over desktop, we've gone over individual team show, and then we've gone over channels. Now let's stay in the communication area and let's talk about how we can communicate with our people. If I wanted to communicate with everybody, I would make sure I'm in the general tab, click on new conversation, and I could just type at team. You'll notice that our entire team is here. And I could say, hello, have a great day. And what that'll do is ping everybody that's in that general channel, which is all team members of Ski Team. If I just want to operate maybe just within a single channel, let's say you have a couple people working on some data, or you have an athletic trainer and a strength conditioning coach having a conversation about what's happening in training that day. You could specifically tag somebody. Abby, I'm going to tag you here because your name will appear. So now it will only tag people within that channel. So a great way to not only just focus conversation, but more importantly, keep thinking about this idea of reproducibility. It allows us to store a relic. So that conversation is not lost 30 days on our cell phone, or in 2 years when we have staff progression or attrition, it's locked as a relic within this team. Okay. So going into channels, we have the big team or the big channel general, and then we also have focus areas that we can really assign people. Within our locked channels, we can specifically assign as access to this. It can be basically athletic training, it can be sports medicine, it could be our dietitians. Whoever needs access to this, we can lock channels to. So that's a really, really okay. The next feature we'll talk about is how we can store information. Okay, so this could be as simple as rehab plans to annual plans if we're in the strength business. It could be training cards, historical athlete records, whatever it is. It could be even just menu for a restaurant when we're on the road if I'm in the operations side. Within each channel, and we'll just go into this performance science channel here. If we go over here to the right, you'll see up top, there's an area called files. So within every single one of our team shells that we've created, especially we're specifically talking about the performance science channel, we have created a small file structure with learning and development, a place where we can put educational content, performance management, a place where we can look at schedules and put templates. And then this is the one I really want to talk about, tech and data systems. This is where we're really going to try to start building out and organizing our file structure or database. So within this, we would have a file structure. And again, this doesn't have to be data. It could be simply information. It could be files, whatever it fits your individual need. But in this case, we've got it set up where we have different folders with different data streams. From this point, it could be anything as simple as a Microsoft form feeding information into this area. It could be a file structure set up where we're taking and downloading Catapult CTRs and the spreadsheets, the actual CSV spreadsheet, and dropping it into that folder. It could be anything that's coming from basically any data stream that we're creating, even if it's manual entry. Okay. So basically, we talked now, just going back in review here. We talked about the team level on the dashboard. I can enter into the team. We talked about our focus areas here on the left with our channels. And now we talked about the ability to store all of our information. The neat thing too is we can control who has access to these channels simply by adding a lock. So a lot of great features. Does anybody have any questions at this point now? Feel good. If there's questions, just unmute and yell. We'll move on just to keep on task here. All right, the next thing, and this is going to be a long-term project, but it's something that we can begin this summer, and we would into like any sort of performance data on your athletes. Okay, so in addition to communication, in addition to a repository for reproducibility over time, what Teams allows us to do is source information and to create nice visuals. Now, this is important for us in the performance science world and us as strength conditioning coaches and us as tactical coaches, as sport coaches, because not everybody needs to know the back end information. What people need to know as an end user is, what does the data mean? What does it look like? What does it need to mean to me? But on the flip side, we as in the performance science industry, us all in the performance industry, need to demystify the use of what data is. It can be scary, it can be intimidating sometimes. So Teams allows us to deliver that quickly to all personnel without the intimidation factor that comes with spreadsheets, different types of platforms, and data analysis. Okay, so here's an example, and then I'm going to show you how we get there. So within Power BI, we have the ability to quickly source data. It can be table form, and you'll notice that it's very dynamic. Let me see if I think I may have lost my screen. Can you guys still see my screen? There it is. Okay. So when we source information right to a channel, we can see a dynamically moving report here. It could be something that maybe a bar graph that could represent maybe player load coming from Catapult, or jump numbers, or readiness scores, whatever the report looks like for an individual team. And a coach can click around based on athlete, based on maybe this is filtered by date instead of what I have state here. Or we can go into a little bit more deep dive and start to bring in different types of visuals, like a pie graph to show distribution across a position group of workload or time on feet, or maybe something even more dynamically changing, like some of our maps or other graphs that actually move. You know, on top of showing information, this starts to tell a story I use the idea in the words of demystifying what all of our data means. The more we can get in front of our coaches, the better. The more we can get in front of all of our staff that work with our athletes, the better. Now, how do we do this? So basically, I had talked about the channels and our files. We basically have our database, and by using Power BI, this is what this little icon is down here. We're going to save that for another day. Basically, pull this information from these file structures into our Power BI dash and then publish directly to the team. So now the coach doesn't have to worry about the information. All we have to do is have it built out, drop new data in, and hit refresh, and it populates in our tag in a really fashion. And honestly, it looks really clean on a computer. It looks really, really clean on an iPad or a mobile device. So if you're thinking about how you would communicate information to your coaches, could be a tremendous opportunity here. Okay, so not going to get too deep today in some of these areas. Want to make it very digestible in terms of what it does, a big overview. But I do want to show one final thing, and it's something that we're going to try to scale throughout the summer. Some of it already completed, but some of this is going to be completed throughout the remainder of the summer and in the fall. All right, so as we mentioned, we want to think about teams as an athlete management system. You've seen some of the capabilities, you've seen what it can do, and maybe more powerful and interesting than just a true AMS or an athlete management system. We have the ability to customize it to exactly what you want for your team. Okay, so if we work with a company, we're kind of locked in with them and bounded by what they have. With Microsoft Teams, essentially, if you have a question or you have a file setup that you like, we can work to get you there. Okay, so talked about Teams, but the bigger thing that I want to go over too is how we can work to bring everybody together. Teams is just not data. Okay, Teams is not just information. Teams is a means to break down walls and barriers, to bring the neighborhoods, as Pat talked about yesterday, together. So for us and for everybody here, I want to think about this as an ecosystem. We're all in an ecosystem. When one thing changes, it impacts somebody else. We have created a couple different groups. Our sport coaches, every single sport coach here at Penn State is involved in a Microsoft team, and we're doing the same things that you've seen in our performance hub. Okay, so the performance hub is essentially every single performance professional in all of our subdisciplinary areas. So athletic training, sports med, strength conditioning, performance nutrition, performance psychology, CAPS, different people across operations. Anybody that fits the idea of a support staff member is in the performance hub. Okay, so now as innovation happens at a singular sport, let's say women's golf has innovation or learned something, staff members can put it right back into the hub, and then other teams see it and then can benefit from it. Actually, it's a community. We're tying the coaches together with this now. Also, so if a coach is involved in their coach hub, they will be connected to only their team that they're responsible for. So now we start to create an even more connected ecosystem. Okay. So the broad scale plan is to step one, to create our ecosystem. We have started this summer, thanks to many of our awesome crew and staff member here. We've created a shell for one of our teams. Abby Hahn has really led up this project, and she's organizing each one of these elements and making sure that everyone has a tab, a file structure, and channels that are identical. Then we can run with it however the individual performance staff wants it to. So this is already complete. Step one, build the skeleton. Step two, build the internal guts to it. And this is what I was alluding to that Abby and her crew are working on, is building these individual channels for each one of our groups. We already went over that a second ago. These are focus areas. Step three, we're working on building out essentially a database via a file structure. So whatever your sport requires, maybe it's just general information, RPE, and wellness, or maybe use force plates, maybe use Catapult. We want to build that out and start to pull all your historical data into that. That is in progress. Step 4, we're working on building out Power BI dashboards, sourcing that file structure from Teams so your data comes alive. Okay, so now what we should be able to do now is if data comes into Microsoft Teams, all we have to do is to go to Power BI and hit refresh and it publishes it for us. I will say the more people that are proficient in using Power BI, the more powerful we will become. It doesn't mean you have to be a designer or a data engineer. It just means you have to be able to open it up and hit refresh and publish at times. So the more people that we can have that have interest in this, the better. And so if anybody does have interest, please let us know. The next one is to find your individual sports. What data streams are coming in from your individual sports? It could be like we mentioned, wearables, Catapult information. It could be force plate information. It could be as simple as a survey with how many minutes you were on the field. Let's source that data in, and that step is in progress as well. And then finally, it's pushing it to the end user. This is kind of an interface that would look like on an iPad tablet or a phone, and it's largely up to you. We had mentioned that Teams is really nice because it has the flexibility to build it however you want. This is basically up to you, and we can help you get there. That is in progress as well. Finally, the long-term project. Now, this is in the years to come. Our way that we are sourcing our data within file structures, it is a solution in the short term. However, it is not something that we can continue to do over time because it's just going to get too big, too large. It has the potential also to damage the fidelity of the information that's actually in it. So what we want to do long term, after we get our Teams AMS set up, is to move to a more centralized data structure where all of our information is coming into a secure cloud-based database, and then would source it right to Power BI and push to Teams. So same fashion, the only thing that'll change is where you're putting your data, but that is in the very long term. So that is our project that we're working on right now. I think it can be really powerful for us as we move forward. It is 11:25, but what kind of questions do we have from anybody?
This is a very specific question, but could you go back and show how you embedded the Power BI dashboard right on like the front of that, basically that channel?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, Adam, I've got this one right here on the top. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to put it on another channel.
Yep.
So you notice it's not up here right now.
Mm-hmm.
All I have to do is go to whatever channel I'm in, hit the plus button. And this is another video and another meeting where we're going to get into this. But when I talked about you can expand it to so many other options, look at what we can add to this Teams environment. You know, I don't even know what these apps are, but if you're into this app Bulletins, you could directly tie whatever you're doing within Bulletins to Teams. The same thing with all of these. I mean, it's absolutely endless. But for Power BI, Adam, going back to your question, let me go back here. I would click this plus, hit Power BI. It's going to probably ask you to sign in. I'm already signed in, but basically you'll take it from whatever cloud-based Power BI workspace you have, and then you would just find it. And I don't know if I'm going to find mine quickly.
You got a few more than I do, so.
Let's just go this lab survey data. It's pretty benign. Okay, so we can click whatever, you find your report, and then basically it embeds it directly into there. So now, and it'll alert people too. So within that tab, now it's here. So when they click on it, it's really clean. You could tag individuals in it. Hey, Coach Game, I just updated, report XYZ. Check this out, and then they can come back with questions. And then because you put it here, it's also accessible by this tab up here.
Okay.
Then if you're like me, you're going to be like, oh, holy smokes, I want to change it. It's not exactly how I liked it. You can right click it, remove it, and it disappears.
Okay. So you build it first in the normal Power BI desktop and then just embed it in here.
Build it first on desktop app.
Yep.
Publish it to cloud Power BI, and then it appears.
Okay. That makes
And
sense.
anytime you redo it, like it would just reappear.
Yep.
And if you use data flows, it's cleaner.
Yep. Okay. Thanks.
What other questions? Thank you for that question.
Nelly, how accessible is it to, it's more on the coaching side, if we wanted to streamline everything for the men's soccer program, can we or could we upload videos in there? So say we have a post-match 10-minute video of all of somebody's clips. Is it accessible to upload that on here, or is that like, does it have that capability to do that, and would it be easily viewable?
So I'll show you. I don't know if you guys can see my screen. You can still see my, I've got multiple computers.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, sweet. I'll show you an example. I've only done it with just like Zoom like videos. Well, I imagine you can expand this. So within, let's just find one here. Actually, I know exactly where I can find one, coach. So here's PDFs. So this video right here is an MP4. So Nikki Jupi from Nutrition filmed an MP4 file, whether it's on Zoom or another file sharing. So this right here would be there. So when you click that, it uploads right there. I'm gonna move it here. And it's pretty clean.
I want to make sure and ask the question, are you comfortable in your,
So within that MP4 structure, it seems pretty clean that you could just post that file wherever you need to. As far as bigger game film within maybe y'all soccer season, that may get large. I don't know if that would have the capability to store everything there, but small MP4 files in 10 minutes, I don't see it being a problem.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like your short quick time player video and how easy that was to upload, but it seems like it's doable. So, thank you.
And going to that point, this is another conversation for another point, and it'd probably be unique to every single team, but organizing, so maybe you have a coaching staff team, players team, or maybe the players and coaches are in the same team behind locked channels. I don't know fully the best structure, but once you start bringing athletes in there, now you start to have your structure, your complex organism that is your team. So maybe some consideration there. Thoughts, questions? It's 11:31. If anybody has any specific questions or are interested in gaining access, if we haven't already given you access to your area, out to any of our crew on our staff here. And what we're going to plan on doing is every Wednesday through the rest of the summer, we'll just come on real quick, like we have always done on Performance School, 30 minutes, knock out some content, short and sweet. And if we can help you build out your environment, let us know.
I actually do have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Have you had any success using Microsoft Forms through Teams? I tried to do it last week, and I would make the form and I would save it just in like under our files. And then when I went to go reopen the form, it would only take me to like the Excel spreadsheet of the results, and I couldn't re-access like just the form to send out to people. Does that make sense?
Yep. So here's how you do it.
Mhm.
Were you sourcing your form from here, or was it?
So I went straight into the channel.
Yep.
And then I clicked new and then a Microsoft form.
Yeah, you're doing that right.
Mhm.
So now you come up and everybody's favorite. So I think, oh, here we go. All right, so you got to this step.
Yep.
Okay, now, way I'm hearing it, you got this, and then you got that set, and then you exited out of it.
Mhm.
And then when you click on this, it only takes you to this,
Yes.
responses.
Yep.
All right, so do this. Once you have this sample, that's the one we just created, to edit it or to find the individual thing, go to your app, forms. Please don't make me sign in. Perfect. And then you'll be able to find it right there.
Oh, okay.
It's, you just have to backdoor it. Don't click it. Go to Microsoft Forms, and then any adjustments you make here, you know, it'll reappear, and then you can come over here and hit collect responses and do your thing.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's exactly the issue I was running into.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? Awesome. I appreciate it. If anything pops up, just reach out to us and we'll be back on next Wednesday.
Thanks, Nelly.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thanks, Nelly.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, y'all. Yes, ma'am.